Just transplanted. Okay. We have.
So you don't plant outside of this space, right?
We do. So
You do,
we
okay.
do. So this is organic protected. These are plants that are more vulnerable to attacks if you want. But outside, we've started to build up the ecosystem as well. So we also grow. You'll see. We do actually both visits and.
Oh, nice.
So here you can see the central gutter that I was talking about, and in fact the gutter has also been designed for someone to walk on it. So for maintenance, so we can actually maintain it as well. So if ever there's anything to adjust.
So you'll see around the, oh, sorry, you had a question.
Yes, where does you said the air passively goes outside or where?
So
where's the
so the sides are all with insect mesh.
okay?
So what happens is in a greenhouse that's like that, the heat accumulation stays in the middle.
Okay.
So here, because the sides are higher, so you have 4 meters here and 7 meters here. So the heat will naturally rise and will naturally go off on both sides of
Okay.
underneath the wings of a bird if you want.
So the orientation of the greenhouse is also important. So because the general wind direction is this way, we oriented the greenhouse so that the flow of air.
Northeast.
Yeah. And so so you will notice in the greenhouse we are planting in pots. And what we're doing is actually we're building our own soil. So at the base of our core ingredients of our soil is organic cocoa coir and organic peat. Now these are organic and certified organic and traceable, which means we have to import them. Technically, I would love to purchase it from Mauritius. We're an island, right? We have all of these coconuts, but it requires some processing, and we haven't found a local supplier that does that. And so, if there's anyone here that's doing that,
That does what? This one?
yeah. So cocoa coir is actually a byproduct of the coconut industry.
And pass
So
it
these are
around.
the fibers.
Oh, they have it around.
Yeah. So I'll pass
It's
it
almost
around.
like we're cutting a coconut and we take out the
Yeah, it's the
husk.
husk
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
left
Yes.
and the fibrous bits. But it also needs to be aged for a while, 'cause you don't want to use it fresh when it's in your potting mix, because it will still leach nutrients from your plants. Organic peat is also out at the yes.
People get it from Mauritius because people are too lazy to let it rot. I mean, not rot, but keep it for a while. Or what's the
So you actually need
what's the issue?
you need somebody to be processing and leaving it to age. So
Yeah.
there are companies that are producing coconut juice, for example, coconut water, sorry.
Yeah.
And so they have coconut, and we could take them, but we need space to let it age and maintain its integrity, and we don't have the resources at this point to do it. So these are different opportunities within the food system that if other people are joining on board, then we can really get sort of a local. We'll be supporting the local economy and sort of reducing waste. We know even in Agalega, there's a lot of coconuts, but then you get into the permits and so we don't have the resources to do that because we're just two people. But yeah, so back to the potting mix, we also have peat that I'll pass around. And these form the base of our soil, right? So this creates the structure that our plants can grow in, and it retains water, but these in itself have no nutritional quality. So if I were to grow any plant in that, it probably wouldn't survive for very long. And so to that we
Very
add,
dry.
these are demo, so it's actually dry.
I don't know what this is. Peat. I'm not much into the farming
So
thing.
peat is actually from the wetland. So it's organic matter that has decayed but very, very slowly over a long period of time in the colder climates. The tropical area, you probably call it a swamp, but in the cooler climates where peat bogs are formed, it's actually cool. And so it's a slow renewing resource. So whenever we buy peat, and there's a lot of peat on the market, we need to make sure it's traceable. So this actually comes from Estonia, because Estonia has very strict laws about how much peat can be harvested. And so this actually comes all the way from Estonia. Yeah, so that's what peat is. And we then add to these two ingredients compost that we produce on the farm, as well as vermicompost. So the ones I'm
Right.
passing around are demo and they're dry. We want them actually fresh and sort of moist. But
Thank you.
can anyone tell me what vermicompost is?
It's made of worms.
Exactly. And so elsewhere they call it black gold. Here in Mauritius, I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. Even in the soil, I couldn't find worms, and
Ah.
that was
Really?
shocking for us.
To my face now.
Yeah, so we realize now that
Now-
those in the residential areas actually are more likely to find worms because it hasn't been cultivated the way it was. So our worms actually came from a friend who knew someone else, and that's the beauty of Mauritius. Everyone knows someone who knows someone. And she's like, yeah, I'll send my son to dig out some worms for you. So she did, and she gave me 200 worms. And we actually have a worm farm. And they are in the thousands now, and we're slowly releasing them back into our raised beds, which you will see on the tour.
Is that those green bins or is that something else?
In our compost labs, I have
we-
other different sort of shapes that I'm trialing to
okay.
see which is the most efficient to produce worms. Yeah. So there are some in there, and you can get to see them later. Yeah, so that is the base, and that's how we sort of feed our plants. At the end of the day,
Smells like something.
for Farm
Sounds
City,
good.
we really feed the
Like
soil
dirt.
rather than feed the plants. Yeah. So in terms of irrigation,
Yeah,
it's also very efficient.
I was sharing that we do collect rainwater from the roof, and what happens is the rainwater, there's a slight slope on the gutter that will then fill up the two big 4,000 liter tank at the back, which then fill up the 6 tank that are aligned with the pots, each line that you see here. So what happens is by elevating the tanks about knee height, let's say 60 centimeters, the water actually flows by gravity up to the end of the 30 meters. And what we have is in between each double pot, we have what we call an auto valve, which is a very simple mechanical valve. It's not electrical. And the way it works is that the water will fill up at the bottom. As you can see, there's some water that comes from the tank. And then once it reaches 5 millimeters, like that, it will stop. It will block the water, and the plant will be forced to send its roots at the base to drink. And so it has many benefits. So the first benefit is that there's no evaporation. So this system is known to use less water than drip irrigation, so there's really no evaporation. And it also makes the plant look for its own water. So instead of us watering from the top and making the plant like kind of lazy, okay, take your water, you go and get your water at the bottom, and the plant will develop its roots throughout the whole pot. So that's the second advantage. The last advantage is that us, the farmers, we don't need to think, are we watering too much, too little? And once you turn on the system, and it's all mechanical, zero electricity, so all our staff really just need to take care of the plants, not to think about irrigation, and so there's zero energy used in the greenhouse. That's how it works.
And you will see behind you, there are pots that are covered with plastic.
Mm.
Anyone wants to take a guess why we do that?
Plastic. I don't know. You have seeds in them and
To make more humidity for the seeds to grow?
Humidity is good, yeah. So actually what we're doing is a process called solarization. So all of our potting mix, we reuse them after every cycle. And so we use plastic to cover the pots, and this traps the heat from the sun and sort of bakes the potting mix so we can get rid of any pathogens before we start the new cycle. So we stagger our crops so that week after week we're planting a new cycle. And so that's a low-tech but efficient way where we can clean our soil without using any chemicals or fungicides or any of that. So that's something that we use. And we leave that for about 6 to 8 weeks in the summer. When it's a bit cooler, maybe up to 10 weeks, but usually, so far that has been quite efficient for us in managing any pest diseases that can actually affect our seedlings.
If you didn't do that, you'd get more diseases.
Yeah.
So we had, So when we were starting, we were like, we'll do it for 2 weeks. It seems hot enough because you
Yeah.
actually see condensation. But we had damping off. We had other fungal sort of diseases, and so when we asked around and people were saying, you can use a certain fungicide or all of that to clean your soil, and we're like, let's find a different way. So we've been experimenting. So far, 6 to 8 weeks seems to be a good timeline.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the part about humidity very briefly?
So you trap the heat of the sun
Yeah.
under the plastic, and that heat actually builds up in the soil. And when you leave it for 6 weeks, you will see condensation actually coming up. Yeah, and that will keep the soil, like wet soil actually produces more heat than dry soil, and that's what we've discovered putting our plastic tarps on there. Yeah.
This is an alternative way to spraying anything inside to kill any pathogen. And so when we started, we really, because it was good that we had no prior education in agriculture, so we started our research from everything that's natural from scratch. So instead, so we really don't know what chemicals to add. So we actually, when we wanted to know what's a natural way to disinfect, solarization came up. Then we learned about solarization, and that's what we use here.
Exactly. Great. So I'll be passing around some basil. You can smell, taste. But basil is actually, it's great in your food, but it's also a great pest repellent.
Yes.
So we
Ah.
find them around the farm.
Oh, that's why it's kind of.
Yeah, they're around everywhere, and it helps.
Oh, you didn't get it,
We
right?
also have some yellow sticky traps that you see around. So even though we are a protected greenhouse, so we had the first layer of barrier, which are the herbs outside. The second layer of barrier is the insect mesh itself. This is the last layer of barrier. This is just to monitor the pest population, because it's not like we are in a laboratory here. So there would be some pests that come in, but using all the free barriers, it helps us keep a good balance in terms of pests in the greenhouse.
And the last ingredient that we also use is that we brew our own microbes. So we brew it from different things. So it could be lactobacillus from rice wash. It could be fermented sort of plant trimmings, and we basically try and brew our own microorganisms that are beneficial to the soil, and we feed that to the soil, and this helps to break down all of the different ingredients in the soil that releases nutrients for the plants to take up. And this is how we sort of keep our soil biologically active, and the key is really keeping the beneficial microbes alive and in diverse quantities. It's the same way with our gut system. So when you drink yogurt and all of that, it helps keep your gut healthy. The same way we actually do that with our soil. And we realized there's a book called Pharmacology, released by a doctor based in California, and she was doing research on how our food system today, we're producing food that is so absent
Of nutrients.
beneficial microbes that were naturally found in the soil. But because we were using all of these chemicals, we are basically producing plants that look good but don't really have the nutrients. And so when you eat the plants, you're actually not feeding your gut bacteria. And so that's why we also, a lot of what we do is to feed the soil rather than to feed the plants. Yeah.
Is that over there? That's like a liquid thing. The thing you're talking
yeah,
about.
I do have one fermenting bucket that you can see. Doesn't smell very good, but you can see that. Yeah. So that's what.
Yeah.
So it's like kombucha or something?
Kombucha
Just
is actually
kidding.
nice,
Yeah.
but and it's good for your gut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you have leftover kombucha, you can actually throw that into your compost. And just fix the soil. Yeah. So this is amaranth. It's the equivalent of bread malva, but the red variety. And when it actually flowers, the seeds are actually good as a cereal. So it's very nutrient dense as a cereal. But you can eat the leaves, and it gives you just as much calcium and as spinach, as a cup of spinach. You can also use it to give your body iron as well. So,
What is it called again?
so you know bread malva?
Malva, yeah.
You
Same.
usually have the green
It's the
one.
red
This is
one.
the red
Oh,
variety.
Actually, now the red started to mix and become green and red.
So getting, yeah, so this is what we're growing.
Interesting. You used
So-
to have a lot of that in the past, but I think it's slowly disappearing.
We're
I don't
bringing
know
them
how
back.
long it
In the greenhouse, we grow mostly herbs and some lettuce, greens. And outside, we grow, for example, the beetroot mainly for the leaves. So in Mauritius, everyone knows that beetroot is good for the fruit, but the leaves have an equal amount of good nutrients
Ah.
in them. So cooking them sauté is very good. And outside the greenhouse, which we're gonna visit now, we grow mainly other crops like root crops and some fruit trees as well.
Is there a reason you prefer not to plant these outside, or it just happens to be here?
So we plant the beetroot for the greens indoors and the beetroot for the root outdoors. So we
Ah, okay.
because the pests, the snails, and everything gets to the leaf.
They'll have a good
outside,
meal.
Yeah. So in the greenhouse, you don't really grow them for the roots, and you get very nice, abundant leaves.
Uh-huh.
We add to our weekly basket.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you want, we can go outside and visit the back.
Can I see the juice you were talking about? It sounded interesting. I just wanted to understand, what did you put inside of it?
Oh, it's whatever you prune and you just leave it to ferment. And it looks like this.
Wow!
And then you
But
extract
you threw
the juice.
water in there too, right?
Yeah, so you fill up water halfway and then you throw in all your diverse
I don't smell
planting.
anything from here.
Yeah, it smells fine.
Yeah, so this has been about 2 months. I'll leave it for about 3 before I pick it up.
So-
And I will take out the juice.
So it's just water and leftover like plant cuttings.
So the way it works is fermented plant juice is whatever plants you're growing, you want to take all of the enzymes and the beneficial microbes that come from it so you can feed them back to your
Reuse it again.
So whatever we trim from the farm, we put them in here, let it ferment for 3 months, and then I take out
3
the
months.
juice, the liquid, and then I dilute it and I feed it. So this is actually a technique known as Korean natural farming. There's a good book called Jadam, Jadam. I'll send you guys the link. And he talks about all these different recipes that were used in traditional farming in Korea. And the Koreans were actually farming organically way before organic certification came in. And so this is a technique that I learned from Korean natural farming. And
So you mix it with that water down there or something? or-
Yeah, so I extract say 1 liter of this and then I add 10 liters of water and then I spray it onto the crops or I feed it into the soil. So this gives that microbes and the enzymes that were already present in those plants and you feed it back and enriches the plant.
Instead of just throwing it to the side.
Yeah, exactly. So it's no waste, you're basically leaving that and using it. And once all of the liquid is done, you can throw whatever that's left into your compost and it just feeds your compost. Yeah. So
You use everything. What do you
we're
call
trying close loop. Yeah,
Jadu?
You
sure.
use like when you use old parts of
So,
the throw away.
If you, yeah, it's like a
Sustainability?
sludge, yeah, and then what you
Just
so there was half a bucket of water, rainwater, and then I threw in all of the prunings, and then you let it sit for 3 months. It's not the most pretty, it didn't smell the greatest, but it works for the plants. I'll show you a
Those ear things. Some of those bugs I have in my bathroom.
maybe scissors.
Earwigs.
Earwigs.
ciseaux?
But they are
Bébé de ciseaux.
they are decomposers. They feed on decaying
They
matter.
don't belong in my bathroom.
They belong here. Bring them here.
I want to share a bit about this
Oh,
one. So we also have sensors that we added in the greenhouse. These are solar powered sensors as well. So you will see we have 8 total in the greenhouse. And what it does, it measures the different parameters of our soil, like the moisture level, the temperature. And what we are doing, let me take out a sensor. So we monitor them through our phones. And we partnered with a local startup, some Mauritian guys who build that. And what our goal is to collect data so as we learn what becomes the best recipe, if you want, for our soil mix, because we create our own soil in Farm City. So, like Kelly was sharing earlier. So by monitoring all those data, we know that, for example, lettuce will grow better in this environment, and a tomato plant likes a bit warmer soil mix. And
So it's very holistic in its measurement type of thing.
Yeah.
It measures the environment itself.
exactly.
Not any special component.
No, it's just to collect data
It's
at
measuring.
scale now, because we have 800 pots. And with this data, tomorrow, for example, if we need to build another greenhouse in the south of Mauritius or in, let's say, Floreal, where it's colder, we can then readjust our interior environment. For example, we could remove shade cloth and increase the heat in the potting mix. So we we adapt to the location to where we are planting.
So how do you collect the data? You get a spreadsheet type of thing?
It's a login, so we have a login online. It's on our phones, and we can export as a CSV file, like a
Oh,
Excel.
awesome.
Yeah.
So